Beloved, have you ever wondered why heaven's riches seem to pour upon some like a mighty flood, while for others the river runs dry? Do you believe, truly believe, that one single sentence, spoken in faith, can set the entire machinery of heaven in motion to chase you down with blessings so vast your hands cannot hold them? I tell you, the vaults of divine supply are not locked to you. They are waiting for the word that heaven recognizes. One word, aligned with God's law, will turn lack into lavishness, delay into instant manifestation, and closed doors into open gates of gold. For the spoken word is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the decree that compels the unseen to appear. If you dare to speak it in faith, you will see what eyes have not seen, you will touch what hands have not held, and you will walk in a garden where every flower blooms for you alone. This message is not an accident, it is your appointment with abundance. Stay, listen, and receive the sentence God designed to make wealth, favor, and opportunity chase you without end. If your spirit is ready to break the famine and call forth the feast, subscribe now and open the gates of your own divine supply. Beloved, from the foundation of the world, God set forth a law so perfect that even the stars obey it, the law of the spoken word. By it the universe was formed, the seas were bound, the mountains were lifted, and the very breath of man was infused with the ability to create. The word is not mere sound, it is divine substance clothed in vibration. It is the royal seal that causes the invisible to take form. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and so it is with you. When you speak in faith, you become a co-creator with the Almighty, and your word becomes law in the realm of manifestation. Most people use their words as idle chatter, not knowing they are scattering seeds into the soil of their own tomorrow. They speak of lack and wonder why their purse grows thin. They speak of illness and marvel at their weakness. But he who understands the law of the word guards his tongue as a king guards his treasure. For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks, and the mouth calls forth the harvest. There is no prayer more powerful than a word spoken in unwavering faith. Thomas Edison, before the light bulb became a reality, would walk the laboratory floors declaring that the solution was already his. He did not beg the darkness to flee, he commanded light to appear. Andrew Carnegie, who built an empire of steel, did not wait for wealth to knock politely at his door. He spoke of wealth as though it already lived in his home. The mind of man, when saturated with the belief of his own spoken decree, cannot be denied, for it aligns with the mind of God, and God himself watches over his word to perform it. Speak health and your cells begin to sing. Speak joy and your atmosphere shifts. Speak abundance and the supply chain of heaven begins to pour into your storehouses. Many people fail because they speak two languages, the tongue of faith and the tongue of fear, and these two cancel each other. One day they declare, "God is my source," and the next, they murmur, "I do not know how I will pay my bills." But the double-minded man is unstable in all his ways and receives nothing. Florence Scovel Shinn once told a woman, "You cannot picture abundance one moment and picture lack the next, for you will always reap the image that is most consistently held in your heart." What is your most consistent decree? What banner have you raised over your life with your own lips? You may read scripture, attend meetings, and listen to teachers, but if your daily speech contradicts your prayers, you are uprooting your own harvest. Consider the farmer. He does not plant wheat and then return to the field each morning to dig up the seed to see if it is growing. He plants, waters, and leaves the rest to the law of growth. So it is with your words. Once spoken in faith, they are set in motion. You must leave them to do their work, free from the interference of doubt. Non-resistance is the handmaiden of the spoken word. For when you speak, you must also release. A word clutched in fear will suffocate, but a word released in trust will multiply. You are not the manufacturer of the blessing. You are the voice that authorizes it. I have met souls who say, "But I have spoken words of faith, and yet nothing has come." And I answer, the seed may lie dormant in the winter, but spring is sure to come. Divine timing is the guardian of the spoken word. When Jesus cursed the fig tree, the disciples saw no change that very moment, but the next day they found it withered from the roots. The word went forth instantly, but the manifestation unfolded in the natural at its appointed hour. So too will your decree. It is not a matter of if, but when. The delay is not denial, it is preparation. The soil must soften, the roots must draw, the conditions must align. You may speak a word today that will meet you at a crossroads years from now, opening a door you did not even know you would need. Vision fuels the spoken word. Without vision, your words are like arrows without a target. Walt Disney, long before the world saw castles and kingdoms, walked through empty land describing every detail of what would be. His words painted the picture so vividly that others began to see it with him. This is the law. You speak, you see, and then you stand. Faith is not hoping the mountain will move. Faith is speaking as though the mountain has already hurled itself into the sea. The invisible responds not to begging, but to authority, the authority you hold as a child of God. You have been given dominion, but dominion is exercised through the tongue. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, hemmed in by Pharaoh's army, their cry was one of fear. But the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward." The word must be spoken in the face of impossibility. Anyone can speak abundance when the bank is full. Anyone can speak health when the body feels strong. But the test of a spiritual giant is to declare abundance in famine, to declare health in weakness, to declare victory while standing in the shadow of defeat. This is how you master the law. Every great soul in history, be it Napoleon Hill declaring that, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, or Annie Ricks Millets affirming the boundless good of God, has learned to speak as if the unseen were already seen. Every time you say, "I can't afford that," you close the door on supply. Every time you say, "I always get sick this time of year," you schedule an appointment with illness. But every time you say, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," you sign a contract with abundance. Your words are messengers. They go forth to prepare your future. Some carry riches, others carry ruin, and they always return with what you sent them to fetch. If you one day withstood the creative power you wield, you would never utter another idle or negative word. You would speak only life, only truth, only that which you desire to see made flesh. The wise know that the tongue is both sword and scepter. It can slay fear and rule circumstances. You cannot speak bondage and live in freedom, nor speak poverty and live in plenty. Even in silence, your inner word, the conversation of your heart, is shaping your world. Change that inner dialogue, and your outer world will bend to match it. Your spoken word is the echo of your inner conviction. Align the two, and nothing shall be impossible to you. And so I say unto you, watch your words as a hawk watches its prey. Let no fearful, doubtful, or bitter utterance escape your lips. Set a guard over your mouth, and decree only that which is in harmony with the kingdom. Speak the sentence heaven is waiting to hear, and abundance will not walk toward you. It will run, it will chase you down, it will overtake you. For the law is unchanging. What you decree in faith, you shall see in form. Beloved, once you have mastered the law of the spoken word, you must learn the law of unwavering faith. For the word without faith is like a letter without postage. It goes nowhere. Faith is the currency of heaven. You may have the most perfect declaration upon your lips, but if it is wrapped in unbelief, it is as sounding brass and tinkling cymbal. Faith is the sure knowledge that what you have asked is already yours, even before the evidence appears. It is the unseen title deed to the land you have yet to walk upon. Jesus said, "When ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them." He did not say, "Believe after you see." He said, "Believe when you pray." That is the divine order. Faith first, manifestation second. Many stumble here, for they believe faith to be a feeling. Faith is not a feeling, it is a decision, a spiritual stand. Feelings may waver with the wind, but true faith stands when the earth quakes beneath your feet. Consider the lion tamer who walks into the cage. He does not rely on the hope that the lions will behave. He walks with the authority of one who expects obedience, so it must be with your decrees. You do not hope for abundance, you expect it. You do not hope for healing, you expect it. Hope waits for permission. Faith acts as though it has already been given. Thomas Troward said, "We limit ourselves by our lack of faith in the infinite possibilities of spirit. The universe holds nothing back from the one who will not be shaken." Faith is the magnet that draws the manifestation into view. And just as a magnet does not strain or strive to attract iron, so faith does not struggle. It simply knows. You must train yourself to treat the unseen as the seen, to honor the promise as though it were already fulfilled. This is the secret of every miracle worker from the prophets of old to the inventors of modern genius. They see it done, they speak it as done, and they act as if it is done. There will be those who tell you to be realistic, who will point to the evidence of your senses and laugh at your expectation. Let them laugh. Noah built the ark when there was no rain. Edison declared he had found the way to produce light when darkness still filled his workshop. Carnegie spoke of abundance when his pockets were empty. Faith is the ability to see the invisible and to refuse to be moved by the visible. You must close your ears to the chorus of doubt and open your heart to the whisper of the Spirit that says, "All that I have is thine." The testing of your faith will come when the opposite appears. This is when the untrained soul crumbles and the trained soul, triumphs. You may speak of wealth, and yet bills may pile upon your desk. You may speak of health, and yet the symptoms may shout in your body. This is the moment to stand firmer than ever. The enemy of your soul is not the bill, not the symptom. It is the temptation to agree with them. The moment you agree with lack or illness in your speech, you have signed a contract with them. Tear up that contract by the word. Say aloud, "This is not the truth of God for me. My supply is unlimited. My body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, radiant with health." Speak it until the very atmosphere shifts to match your decree. I have counseled many who say, "But I cannot lie to myself. If I am sick, I am sick. If I am broke, I am broke." And I say to them, "You are not lying. You are speaking the higher truth." There is a truth of appearances, and there is the truth of God. Appearances are temporary. The truth is eternal. Which will you align your words with? To agree with appearances is to nail your own blessings to the cross. To agree with the truth is to roll away the stone from the tomb. Faith speaks the truth of God over the facts of man. The subconscious mind is the servant of your faith. It cannot argue, it only obeys. Whatever picture is most impressed upon it will take root and grow. This is why repetition is the mother of manifestation. One declaration spoken once in doubt is like a seed tossed upon the pavement, but a declaration spoken daily, saturated with faith, is like a seed planted deep in rich soil, watered and warmed until the sprout breaks forth. You must feed your subconscious with the vision until it becomes more real to you than your current reality. Faith is also a law of substitution. You cannot hold fear and faith at the same time. When fear rises, it must be cast out by a stronger word of faith. The scripture says, "Perfect love casteth out fear, for fear hath torment." Fear is the faith of the negative. It believes in evil more than it believes in good. You must refuse to worship at the altar of fear. How do you do this? By refusing to give it your speech. Never say, "I am afraid." Say instead, "I am safe in the everlasting arms." Never say, "I am worried." Say instead, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" Your words not only direct your faith, they determine where it resides. History is full of those who turned the tide of their destiny by faith-filled speech in the face of certain defeat. Ella Wheeler Wilcox declared, "Always continue the climb. It is possible for you to do whatever you choose if you first get to know who you are and are willing to work with a power that is greater than ourselves. This power is the spirit within, and faith is the hand that reaches for it. Every decree of faith is a seed sown into the garden of your future. Sow generously, for you will reap accordingly. There is a discipline to faith. It is not built in a day. Like a muscle, it strengthens with use. Begin with small decrees and watch them come to pass, and your faith will grow for greater things. Speak to find a parking space, and it will open for you. Speak for favor in a meeting, and you will find it. These small victories are the stepping stones to mountains moved. Many fail in the great tests because they have neglected the daily practice of the small. Train your tongue in the everyday, and it will not fail you in the crisis. You must also refuse the counterfeit. Sometimes the enemy will send a shadow of your desire, an opportunity that looks right but is laced with compromise, a healing though that is partial, a provision that comes with strings. True faith does not settle for the counterfeit. It holds out for the perfect will of God. Say, "If it is not the divine design, I do not want it. If it is mine by right, it will come without struggle, without loss, without sorrow added." This is the courage of faith, to refuse the lesser in order to receive the greater. And when the manifestation comes, as surely it will, give thanks as lavishly as you decreed. Gratitude seals the blessing and multiplies it. Ingratitude is a leaky vessel. Gratitude is a fountain that overflows. Thank God before it appears, thank Him when it arrives, and thank Him after it is established. The thankful heart is the magnet of heaven. Your faith began the work. Your gratitude completes it. So I say again, speak your word in faith and stand upon it as upon solid rock. Let no wind of doubt shake you, no wave of fear drown you. You are the child of the Most High, clothed with His authority, entrusted with His creative power. You hold in your tongue the key to your treasure vault. Turn it, and watch the riches of heaven pour forth. When the word has been spoken and faith has taken root, the next movement of spirit is vision. For the soul without vision is a ship without a compass, adrift upon an ocean of chance. Vision is the spiritual photograph of your desire, developed in the darkroom of your mind, printed upon the canvas of the invisible, before it can be framed in the visible. Where there is no vision, the people perish, for without it, you cannot hold the picture long enough for the law to produce it. Words plant the seed, faith waters it, but vision turns the invisible seed into a visible garden. You must see what you have spoken as though it already fills your hands. When Joseph dreamed his dreams of sheaves bowing and stars honoring him, it was more than the fancy of youth. It was the divine blueprint being whispered into his soul. Though he was cast into a pit, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison, he never released the picture. And because he held it in the secret place, the circumstances of the outer world were compelled to rearrange themselves to match the picture within. This is the law. The outer must match the inner, for the inner is the cause and the outer the effect. Prentice Mulford wrote, "The man of strong imagination sees what he wants and sees it as if he had it." That is the key. To see it as if it is already yours. Walt Disney walked through swamps and fields of weeds, seeing castles where others saw mosquitoes. Henry Ford saw roads filled with automobiles when the world still clung to its horses. Florence Scovel Shinn saw her students living in abundance when they sat before her in poverty. They all looked with the eyes of spirit, and spirit never disappoints those who refuse to remove their gaze. You may say, "But how can I hold the vision when the evidence around me shouts the opposite?" The answer is the discipline of imagination. The imagination is the womb of creation. It does not care whether the picture you give it is one of despair or delight. It will grow whatever you plant. If you leave it untended, it will grow weeds. If you plant in it daily, it will grow orchards. Therefore, you must rehearse the vision in the theater of your mind until it becomes more real than the chair upon which you sit. Do not merely see the thing, feel it, hear it, inhabit it. If your vision is of a home, walk through its halls in your imagination, touch the smooth wood of the banister, hear the sound of your feet upon its floors. If your vision is of perfect health, feel the strength in your limbs, the vitality in our breath. This is not idle daydreaming. This is spiritual rehearsal. Just as an actor must rehearse before the curtain rises, so the soul must rehearse before the manifestation comes. Yet vision alone is not enough, for vision without right action is a bird with one wing. Once the blueprint is held firmly in your mind, you must listen for the still small voice that tells you the next step. Right action is action born of guidance, not of panic or human reasoning. The spirit is the master architect. It knows how to build the bridge between your now and your desired state. One right step in divine timing will accomplish more than 100 frantic efforts in fear. Andrew Carnegie once said that the key to his success was not simply hard work, but the ability to recognize the right opportunity at the right moment and to move upon it without hesitation. Right action is always simple, always clear, and always infused with peace, even if it challenges you. When you are guided to take a step, take it immediately. Delay is a thief. Many have spoken the word, believed the word, seen the vision, and then stalled when action was required. The law of momentum demands that you move when the spirit says move. Right action is also non-resistant action. It flows with the current of life rather than against it. It is the action that feels like a natural extension of the vision, not a desperate clawing for results. Orison Swett. Martin wrote, "Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal." When you keep your gaze upon the vision, obstacles dissolve into stepping stones. The right action often comes disguised as a small thing, a conversation, a letter, an invitation. Do not despise small beginnings, for the mustard seed is the smallest of seeds, yet becomes the greatest of trees. There will be times when the action required is inward rather than outward, a release of resentment, a forgiveness long withheld, a surrender of something not in divine alignment. This too is right action, for the channel must be clear for the supply to flow. A vision held in a bitter heart will be delayed, for bitterness clogs the very arteries of your spiritual circulation. Forgiveness is not a favor to the other person. It is the opening of the gate to your own good. Vision and right action also demand that you release the how. The how is the business of God. The what and why are yours. Your vision defines the what you desire to see. Your faith and speech define the why, because it is your divine inheritance. But the how, the method, the sequence, the avenue, is woven in the unseen. When you attempt to force the how, you limit the infinite. Many have blocked their blessings by insisting it must come through a certain person, a certain job, a certain investment. Yet spirit may have 100 other ways to deliver it. Keep your hands off the machinery. You must also guard your vision from thieves. There are those who, through ignorance or jealousy, will attempt to speak doubt into your dream. They may say, "Be realistic," or "That's impossible," or "You don't have the means." Learn to keep your vision in the secret place until it is strong enough to withstand the winds. Joseph's brothers hated him for his dreams. Nehemiah's enemies mocked him for his wall, but both finished the work because they refused to let others' disbelief infiltrate their own faith. The Spirit may guide you to act boldly, to take a step that seems beyond your current resources. If so, do it in faith. Divine provision always meets divine guidance. George Mueller, who cared for thousands of orphans without ever asking man for a penny, acted only upon God's promptings. And the supply came in exact measure at exact times. Right action is always supported by right supply. You will not be led to act where you will be left stranded. And when you have taken the step, release the outcome. Right action is not about forcing results. It is about obeying guidance. When Peter cast his net at Jesus' word, the fish came in such abundance that the nets broke. But Peter's only part was to cast the net where he was told. Your only part is to act where you are told. The harvest is the Lord's. Beloved, marry your spoken word with vision, and marry your vision with right action, and you will walk the earth as a master of circumstance. You will not chase blessings. Blessings will chase you. You will not beg for doors. Doors will swing open at your approach. This is not magic. It is law. The same law that governs the growth of the seed, the rising of the sun, the turning of the tides. Speak, see, act, and the universe must obey. Beloved, once you have spoken the word, anchored it in faith, clothed it in vision, and stepped in right action, there comes the sacred law of divine timing. For every seed has its appointed season, and no hand can force the rose to bloom before the hour appointed by the sun. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. This is not delay, this is order. The kingdom of God is a kingdom of perfect order, and to align with it is to release the strain of human hurry. Divine timing is the keeper of the unseen clock. It is the invisible gardener who knows precisely when the fruit is ripe for harvest. Many souls have broken their own blessing by plucking it too soon. They dig up the seed to see if it is growing, only to find it dead in their hands. Spirit does not hurry, yet it is never late. The river flows in its channel, and when you walk with the current, you arrive without fatigue. But when you push against it, the journey becomes toil. You must trust that the appointed time is the most favorable time, the moment when the most doors will stand open, the most hands will be ready to assist, the most provision will be present. What good is a ship if the tide is out? The law of divine timing brings the tide in exactly when your vessel is ready to sail. This is why the scripture says, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, they shall mount up with wings as eagles." Waiting upon the Lord is not idleness, it is a poised readiness, an alert expectancy. Andrew Carnegie once said that one of the greatest lessons in business was the art of waiting for the right moment. He learned that forcing a deal before its time brought strife, while waiting for the perfect opening brought victory without struggle. Divine timing is the secret partner of every great work, the invisible hand arranging the stage before the curtain rises. You may be ready to speak your line, but the scene is not yet set. To rush would be to spoil the play. Yet there is a danger here. For waiting can become stagnation if you lose your expectancy. Many say, "I am waiting on God," but in truth they have laid down the vision, stopped speaking the word, and gone to sleep. This is not waiting, this is spiritual slumber. True waiting is watchful, alert, praising God for the answer before it comes, knowing it is moving toward you even as you stand still. The farmer waits for the rain, yet he tends his fields. The bride waits for the bridegroom, yet she prepares herself. And here we must speak of its companion law, the law of non-resistance. Non-resistance is the ability to move with life instead of fighting against it. It is the spiritual art of turning every apparent setback into a stepping stone. Jesus said, "Resist not evil," which means, do not meet force with force, do not answer insult with insult, do not wrestle with shady. The moment you resist, you energize the very thing you oppose. But the moment you become non-resistant, you withdraw the fuel that feeds it. Non-resistance is not weakness, it is spiritual mastery. The willow bends in the storm and survives, the rigid oak breaks. When the wind of adversity blows, bend with it, let it pass, and you will find yourself standing when the storm has spent its fury. Mahatma Gandhi built a revolution on this principle, moving an empire without lifting a sword. He understood that non-resistance is not passivity, it is the refusal to meet the lower with the lower. In your own life, this means refusing to be provoked by delay, insult, or obstacle. If the door is closed, you do not batter it down, you turn and find the open door. If one avenue is blocked, you say, "This is not my path is clear, my way is open." and you walk on. You do not waste energy cursing the darkness, you turn toward the light. Non-resistance keeps your heart free of bitterness, your mind free of clutter, and your spirit free to hear divine guidance. Prentice Mulford once wrote, "When you cease to resist, you cease to attract the thing resisted." How often people have prolonged their troubles by rehearsing them, arguing with them, and fighting them. The more you wrestle with lack, the more lack entangles you. But the moment you release it, the moment you say, "God is my instant, constant, and abundant supply, I give this appearance no power over me," the tide turns. Non-resistance also keeps you in the flow of divine timing, for resistance is like a stone thrown into the river. It disrupts the current. When you are non-resistant, you float with the current and arrive exactly when and where you should. Many miss their appointed hour because they have spent their strength fighting the very conditions that were meant to carry them to their destination. The obstacle you resist may be the bridge you were meant to cross. Consider Joseph again, sold into slavery, falsely accused, imprisoned, yet never bitter, never resisting the place he found himself. At every stage, he prospered where he was planted, and in the fullness of time, the prison door opened to the palace. Had he fought against his condition with anger, he would have wasted his energy and lost the favor that prepared his throne. Non-resistance is also the secret to peace. A life of constant resistance is a life of constant war. Your mind always tense, your words always defensive, your heart always weary. But when you become non-resistant, you enter into rest, and rest is the atmosphere in which manifestation comes with ease. The green shoot does not wrestle its way out of the earth, it simply grows upward, meeting no resistance within itself. This is why I say, speak your word, hold your vision, act when guided, and then rest in divine timing with a non-resistant heart. When the moment comes, you will not need to force it. The gate will swing wide, the tide will be full, the current will carry you. You will arrive without strain, without injury, without loss, and you will know that it was not by might, nor by power, but by the Spirit of the Lord. And when you live this way, beloved, you will find that blessings begin to overtake you without your pursuit. For the same law that governs the orbit of the planets governs the arrival of your good. The seasons of your life are under divine order. Trust the clock you cannot see, and refuse to fight the current that carries you. Beloved, manifestation is not the work of toil, but the final flowering of the seed you have spoken, believed, envisioned, and acted upon in harmony with divine timing. It is the moment when the unseen becomes the seen, when the dream steps out of the shadow into the sunlight, when the promise takes on flesh and walks into your life. The world calls it incidence, but Spirit calls it fulfillment. For the law is unchanging, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap, and when the harvest is ripe, it cannot hide itself. The first truth you must grasp is that manifestation is natural. It is as natural as the apple tree bearing apples, as the river flowing to the sea, as the child growing in the womb. It is not a miracle in the sense of breaking the law. It is a miracle in the sense of law fulfilled. When you understand this, you cease to beg and begin to expect. You cease to strive and begin to receive. The same force that turns the acorn into an oak will turn your spoken word into visible form, if you do not uproot it with doubt. Many treat manifestation as if it were the result of luck or favoritism, but God is no respecter of persons. He is a respecter of law. The law works for whosoever will align with it. You may be the richest man in the city, or the poorest beggar by the roadside. The moment you speak the word in faith, the machinery of Spirit begins to work in your favor. It does not matter who you are. It matters only whether you believe and stand. The manifestation will often come in a way you did not expect. It may slip quietly into your life through an unexpected channel, or it may arrive with a suddenness that leaves you breathless. But it will always bear the mark of divine orchestration. The right thing, in the right way, at the right time, without sorrow added. Many have received what they called a blessing, only to find it brought heaviness with it. This is not divine manifestation, but a counterfeit. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. Napoleon Hill told the story of a man who dug for gold, grew weary, and quit, only to have another strike the vein 3 feet from where he stopped. How many have spoken the word, held the vision, taken the steps, and then abandoned the field just before the harvest broke through? Manifestation requires persistence unto the end. The farmer does not walk away when the wheat begins to sprout. He tends it until the stalk is golden and the head is full. So must you tend your decree until it stands before you in its completed form. And yet, manifestation is not always the final act. It is often the doorway to the next. The moment you receive, you must be prepared to use what you have received in harmony with divine purpose. If you receive wealth, but use it in fear or selfishness, the river will dry. If you receive health, but use your strength to harm others, the body will weaken again. Manifestation is both gift and responsibility. To whom much is given, much is required. The blessing is not only for you, it is for the greater good to which you are connected. How do you know manifestation has arrived? It comes with peace. It feels like the missing piece sliding into place. It is accompanied by joy, gratitude, and the quiet knowing, this is mine by divine right. You do not have to force it to stay. It is rooted in the law. Forced things slip away. Divinely given things remain. When manifestation comes, it often brings companions. A new job may also bring new friendships, new opportunities, new skills. A healing may also bring new confidence, new ventures, new horizons. Spirit never gives in fractions, it gives in abundance. This is why the cup runneth over. The blessing that is yours by divine right will always carry with it more than you asked or thought. But here is a great secret. Manifestation is not the moment the blessing appears. Manifestation begins the moment you declare it done. From that instant, in the realm of spirit, it is finished. What you see later in the outer world is simply the echo of what was completed in the unseen. Therefore you must rejoice from the very beginning. Praise God as if the answer is already in your hands, for in truth it is. This vibration of gratitude, attitude hastens the appearance, just as warmth hastens the ripening of fruit. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Manifestation is the process of making the unconscious conscious, of bringing into visibility what was once only a feeling, a thought, a word. This is why your inner work is so vital, for what is within you will inevitably take shape without. Be prepared for the final test before manifestation, the test of appearance. Just before the harvest breaks through, the enemy of your soul will often present the exact opposite of what you have spoken, in one last attempt to draw your agreement into the negative. If you have spoken abundance, you may face an unexpected expense. If you have spoken health, you may feel a sudden symptom. This is the moment to stand firm. The darkness is always deepest before the dawn, not because the light is failing, but because the shadow fights hardest when it knows its time is short. Beloved, manifestation is the proof that God's word in your mouth is as powerful as His word in His own. For you are His vessel, His mouthpiece, His co-creator in the earth. The word that created the worlds is the same word that will create your new home, your healed body, your restored relationship, your overflowing bank account. The seed and the harvest are one in the mind of God, and when you see it, you will know, it was never luck, it was never chance, it was always the law at work in perfect love. Therefore, when your manifestation arrives, do not hoard it, do not hide it, testify of it. Speak of it as a witness to the law so that others may know the same truth. The more you share, the more the river flows. And when the next vision rises in your heart, you will speak again, believe again, see again, act again, and receive again. For this is the rhythm of the bell. Abundant life. If this truth has opened your eyes to the law of manifestation, subscribe now, and remain in this company of faith where every word we speak becomes flesh, and every vision finds its form. You have not yet touched the hem of the garment of God's generosity. What you call enough is but a drop in the ocean of His supply. There is no scarcity in heaven. The sun does not ration its light. The ocean does not count its waves. The stars do not limit their shining. Creation itself is a testimony to the law of increase. For everything God made is stamped with the pattern of multiplication. The seed becomes the tree bears fruit, the fruit holds seeds again. In the mind of spirit, there is no such thing as barely getting by. There is only pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Yet many live as if the vault of heaven were locked against them. They pray for enough to survive, when God would give them enough to overflow. The Master said, I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. Abundance is not an extra. It is your birthright. It is the divine signature upon the soul that knows its source. You dishonor God when you shrink your request to fit your fear. If the earth is His and the fullness thereof, then you, as His child, are heir to fullness, not fragments. The law of increase is this. Whatever you bless increases, and whatever you withhold blessing from diminishes. Gratitude is the magnet of multiplication. The Israelites in the wilderness murmured, and their manna rotted. But Jesus took the loaves and fishes, blessed them, and they multiplied until all were fed and baskets overflowed. If you would see increase in your life, Cease your complaining and begin your blessing. Thank God for the smallest coin in your purse, and it will draw its companions. Thank Him for the breath in your lungs, and your health wills both strengthen. Bless the good in others, and the same will return to you multiplied. Andrew Carnegie, who built an empire of steel, once said that his fortune began with a single thought, not a thought of lack, but of expansion. He refused to think small. He refused to see limits where others saw walls. That is the mark of the increase-minded soul. It sees beyond what is, into what can be, and speaks to that reality until it bows into form. Increase begins in the invisible. If you would enlarge your life, enlarge your thought. But beware, the law of increase works in both directions. If you magnify your problems, they will grow. If you dwell on your debts, they will multiply. Spirit does not judge the content you feed it. It simply multiplies what you plant. Sow fear, and you reap more to fear. Sow faith, and you reap more to celebrate. This is why the wise guard their words and their thoughts as the farmer guards his seed. You must also understand the law of overflow. Overflow is not mere surplus. It is the signal that you are fully aligned with the divine rhythm of giving and receiving. When your cup runs over, it is not for you alone. The overflow is meant to spill into the lives of others. When you hoard your overflow, you dam the river. When you pour it out, you widen its course. Many block their next blessing by clutching too tightly to the last one. If you would live in overflow, you must become a channel, not a container. Ella Wheeler Wilcox once wrote, "Give and smiling give again, never count your gift as loss." This is the very heartbeat of the law of increase. The river never fears running dry, for it knows its source is the mountain spring. So must you give freely, knowing that what you send forth will return, multiplied, pressed down, and running over. This is not charity in the sense of pity. This is circulation in the sense of power. And do not think the law of increase applies only to money. It applies to wisdom, to love, to influence, to creativity. The more you use, the more you have. The more you teach, the more you learn. The more love you pour out, the more love rushes back. Those who hide their talents in the ground lose even what they have. Those who invest them in service see them multiplied beyond measure. The master's parable of the talents is not about coins. It is about capacity. Yet here is a hidden truth. Increase is never accidental. It is always the result of deliberate alignment with divine principle. You must plant, you must water, you must keep the weeds of fear and doubt from choking the soil. You cannot expect harvest where you have sown nothing. This is why many cry out for increase and receive nothing. Their hands are empty because their hearts never sowed. But once you have set this law in motion, once you have blessed what you have, sown with faith, and released your gift into the divine circulation, nothing can stop the increase. It will come from directions you never expected. It may come from your work, from a stranger's generosity, from the lifting of a burden, from the opening of a new door. It will not always come as currency. Sometimes the greatest increase is time, freedom, or opportunity. The overflow is God's signature, that the law is working without obstruction. It is the stage where you live, not from paycheck to paycheck, but from miracle to miracle. It is the stage where every need is met before it is spoken, where every bill is paid before it arrives, where every dream is funded before you take the first step. This is not fantasy. It is simply the natural outcome of living in harmony with divine supply. But the law will always test your readiness for overflow. It will place in your hand a seed of blessing and watch whether you bury it in fear or plant it in faith. Many have failed here, holding so tightly to the little they have that they choke off the increase that was on its way. If you wish to prove to Spirit that you are ready for more, begin by circulating what you already have. What you cling to shrinks, what you release expands. Carl Jung observed that, the measure of a man is the measure of his unconscious. The law of increase teaches that the measure of your supply is the measure of your inner expectancy. If you expect little, you will receive little. If you expect much, the universe must match your faith. This is why Jesus said, "According to your faith be it unto you." Beloved, there is no virtue in poverty when the vaults of heaven stand open. Your Father is not glorified when you live in lack. He is glorified when you bear much fruit. When your life overflows with good, it becomes a living testimony of His goodness. The law of increase is not about greed. It is about the full expression of divine life through you. Therefore, bless what you have. Speak to it as the prophet spoke to the widow's oil. Pour out, and it shall not cease. Bless your work, bless your home, bless your body, bless your relationships. The more you bless, the more you will have to bless. And when the overflow comes, for it must, pour it out again, and watch the river widen until it touches shores you never dreamed to reach. Beloved, there is a law in the kingdom that few embrace with joy, yet it is the very gate through which all great manifestations pass, the law of divine delay. This delay is never denial, it is the sacred pause in which God perfects the gift, aligns the path, and fortifies the soul to carry what it has asked for. Many faint in this pause. They believe heaven has turned deaf, when in truth, heaven is preparing a blessing so vast, so precise, that premature delivery would be its ruin. Faith in the seed stage is easy when the soil is freshly turned and the sun is warm. But faith in the long night, when the earth seems still and no green shoot appears, that is the faith that moves mountains. The farmer does not dig up his seed each morning to check its progress. He trusts the invisible. He waters, he waits, and he knows that in the secret darkness, the seed is breaking open into life. So it is with the promises of God. There is a hidden danger in impatience. Impatience is faith in the wrong direction, faith in fear, in lack, in the idea that you must rush to rescue yourself. How many blessings have been miscarried by the restless hand that could not wait? Abraham and Sarah, weary of waiting for God's promise, sought to force the manifestation by their own means, and the result was strife. But when the fullness of time came, the true promise appeared, and no man could take it away. Divine delay is God's way of enlarging your capacity. The cup must be made strong enough to hold the wine. If you were given all you asked for in the moment you asked, your hands might not be ready to carry it. The delay teaches you stewardship. It stretches your faith muscles until they can bear the weight of the blessing without snapping. Thomas Edison once said, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." The law of unshakable faith holds you in that final stretch, when the dream is one breath away and yet still unseen. This is the hour when the tempter whispers, "It will never come." This is the hour to speak the word with greater force than ever before. When the enemy shouts lack, you shout abundance. When fear says, "It is over," you declare, "It is done." Understand this, the delay is often not about the blessing, but about the alignment of all things connected to it. A great door does not swing on a single hinge. It requires the synchronized movement of many unseen parts. God is arranging people, circumstances, and even your own inner state to meet the blessing in perfect harmony. To snatch it before the arrangement is complete is to receive a symphony before the instruments are tuned. Unshakable faith is not blind stubbornness. It is sight in the invisible realm. It is the quiet knowing that what you have spoken according to divine law must appear, for it is backed by the integrity of God Himself. This is why Jesus slept in the storm. He knew the word, "Let us go to the other side," was as sure as the sunrise. The storm could not drown the word. Christian D. Larson wrote, "Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle." This something is the Christ consciousness, the unbreakable link to divine supply, wisdom, and order. When you are rooted in this consciousness, delay loses its sting. You no longer see it as punishment, but as preparation. Remember, delay is the sculptor's chisel shaping the marble of your life. It removes what cannot enter the next season. It refines your motives, tests your patience, and burns away the dross of doubt. Only the pure gold of unwavering trust remains. And gold, beloved, is not forged in comfort. It is refined in the furnace. Walt Disney faced years of rejection before a single park was built, yet he said, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible." That is the spirit of unshakable faith. To look at the impossible and smile, knowing that heaven specializes in it. The delay is not there to discourage you, but to display the glory of a manifestation so perfectly timed that even your enemies will say, "The Lord has done this." But here is the great temptation in delay, the counterfeit blessing. It comes disguised as good enough when God has promised you the best. It appears in the waiting season to lure you into settling for less than divine order. Many have accepted the counterfeit simply because they grew weary of holding out for the promise. But the one who walks by unshakable faith will not take Ishmael when Isaac is on the way. Non-resistance is your shield in the delay. You do not fight the clock. You bless the process. You declare, "I am exactly where I need to be. What is mine is coming to me now, and it arrives on time, in order, and in full measure." Such words are not desperate. They are the calm decrees of a soul anchored in truth. And truth, beloved, is immovable. There is a fragrance in the blessing that comes after long waiting. It carries a sweetness the hurried gift can never match. When Joseph was thrown into the pit, sold into slavery, and locked in prison, the vision God had given him must have felt like a distant dream. Yet in a single day, a single divine appointment, he was lifted from the dungeon to the palace. The delay did not diminish the promise, it multiplied it. Faith in the midst of delay is the diamond of the soul. Diamonds are formed under pressure, in darkness, over time, and when they emerge, they cannot be broken. So it is with the faith forged in waiting, it becomes indestructible. When the blessing finally comes, you will carry it not with trembling, but with authority, knowing you have been tested and found faithful. Beloved, hold your ground. The clock of heaven does not run slow, it runs right on time. Every second is in service to your highest good. The delay is not the enemy, it is the midwife of your miracle. Stand firm, speak the word, and let the unseen do its work. When the appointed hour strikes, the door will open of its own accord, and you will walk through into the fullness of what you have long believed for. Faith without works is dead, not because God withholds the blessing, but because action is the language by which you say to heaven, I am ready to receive. Divine right. Action is not frantic effort. It is not human striving, born of fear or impatience. It is the calm, precise step that springs from an inner knowing that the way is prepared. It is the movement that follows the voice of spirit as naturally as a seed follows the pull of the sun. The word you have spoken has gone forth into the ether, clothed in divine substance, seeking its own. But the law is this: heaven will meet you in motion. The Red Sea did not part until the Israelites moved toward it. Peter did not walk upon the water until he stepped out of the boat. Action, beloved, is the bridge between the decree and its demonstration. Many err by confusing motion with progress. They run in circles, exhausting themselves with tasks that have nothing to do with the path God has lit before them. Divine right. Action is never wasteful, it is exact. It is the single arrow that strikes the target, not the scattering of 100 stones into the wind. When you are guided by spirit, one act, one conversation, one step, can open a door that years of striving could not unlock. Orison Swett Marden once wrote, "The golden opportunity you are seeking is in yourself. It is not in your environment, it is not in luck or chance, but in yourself alone." Divine right. Action is the unlocking of that inner gate. It is the point at which the faith you hold inside finds its perfect outer expression. And when you act from that place, heaven rushes to meet you. Consider the story of Ruth. She did not wait in the shadows for provision to find her. Guided by a quiet inner prompting, she went to the fields to glean. That single act of obedience, seemingly small, almost insignificant, placed her in the exact path of her divine appointment with Boaz. This is the beauty of divine right action. It does not require you to know the entire plan. It asks only for the next step. How do you discern this action? You listen, not to the clamor of fear, but to the still small voice within. Spirit will never rush you into chaos. Its instruction carries peace, even if it challenges your comfort. It may nudge you to make a call, to write the letter, to plant the seed, to clear the space for what you have asked for. Each act is like a key, turning in the lock of destiny. Thomas Troward said, "Principle is not bound by precedent. Divine right action often defies the patterns of the past. It may call you to a bold leap when logic says to wait, or to a pause when the world says hurry. This is why your ear must be tuned to the spirit more than to human opinion. The action that is right for another may not be right for you. Your path is uniquely woven by the master weaver. When the voice of spirit speaks, delay not. Procrastination is the silent thief of miracles. The Israelites could not afford to linger when the pillar of fire moved. To hesitate is to step out of the divine current. But likewise, do not move ahead of the signal, for premature action can collapse a structure before its foundation is set. The beauty of divine right action is its perfect timing. The steps are ordered, the ground is prepared, and the result is inevitable. Andrew Carnegie's rise from poverty to great wealth was not born of reckless ambition, but of decisive, spirit-led action. He followed the law of preparation meeting opportunity, doing each task with excellence, so that when the door opened, he was ready to walk through. So too must you be faithful in the small things, for they are the training ground for the great. Understand, beloved, that divine right action is not limited to grand gestures. Sometimes the smallest acts, forgiving a wrong, cleaning your home, organizing your finances, release a flood of energy that sweeps away old blockages. Each time you obey the promptings of spirit, you signal to the universe, I am aligned, I am prepared, I am available for the blessing. Non-resistance is your companion in this law. You do not force the action, you allow it to arise. When the branch abides in the vine, the fruit comes naturally. So it is with you. When you abide in the divine flow, action becomes effortless, almost inevitable. You move as the river moves, not straining, not hesitating, but flowing in harmony with the current. Christian D. Larson reminded us, the man who can see what he wants and act accordingly has already begun to bring it into existence. Vision without action is a dream left unbirthed. Action without vision is labor without harvest. But when vision and divine right action join hands, manifestation is certain. There is a sacred boldness in this law. It will not let you shrink back when the door opens. Many pray for opportunity, but hide when it arrives. The law calls you to step forward with the authority of one who knows the door was made for them to enter. When David ran toward Goliath, he was not acting in presumption, but in alignment with the divine assignment on his life. One smooth stone, guided by the Spirit, accomplished what armies could not. Let this truth settle deep. You are not the architect of the plan. You are the obedient builder. Spirit is the designer, the source of supply, the master of timing. Your role is to take the step that is before you, with the confidence that the next will be revealed. So arise, beloved, from the paralysis of overthinking. The Spirit has already prepared your way. Take the step, however small it may seem, for it is the bridge to your miracle. And as you move, heaven moves with you. Beloved, the oak does not grow in a day, and the sunrise does not rush to meet the horizon before its appointed hour. All of life is governed by rhythm, and in the kingdom of God, there is no such thing as delay. There is only divine right timing. What you call waiting is often the ripening of your miracle, the weaving together of people, places, and events in perfect harmony, so that when the moment arrives, the blessing enters without strain, without loss, and without sorrow. Many souls stumble here, for the human mind is impatient. It mistakes divine order for absence, and in its haste, it plucks the fruit before it is sweet. Yet God's clock never runs slow, and it never runs fast. The promise is sure. At the right time, I, the Lord, will make it happen. Isaiah 60:22. This is the law, that every manifestation comes forth in its season, and no force on earth can keep it from you when the appointed hour strikes. Consider the farmer. He does not dig up his seed to see if it grows. He trusts the hidden work beneath the soil. So must you trust the unseen movement of spirit. The germination is silent, yet the harvest is certain. To demand the fruit before its hour is to invite disappointment, for the sweetness lies not merely in having it, but in having it at the moment when it will bless you most. Divine right timing is God's safeguard against both loss and regret. It ensures that what is yours will not arrive a moment too soon, when you are unready to hold it, nor a moment too late, when it would have passed its power to bless. The blessing waits for you to be in full alignment, in faith, in action, in readiness. Thomas Edison, whose patience turned darkness into electric light, understood this. He once said, "Everything comes to him who hustles while he waits." Divine right. Timing is not idle, it is active expectancy. It is preparing the storehouse while the caravan approaches. It is oil in the lamp before the bridegroom arrives. It is making ready the nets before the sea yields its fish. Think of Joseph, sold into slavery, cast into prison. Yet every seeming setback was but a step in God's timetable. Had he been released earlier, he might have lived a small, quiet life, unknown to Pharaoh. But at the precise moment of Egypt's famine, Joseph stood ready, trained, positioned, and appointed to become ruler over the land. Beloved, what you call delay may be your training ground for greatness. This law demands that you relinquish control over the when. The mind loves to dictate timetables, to bargain with heaven over deadlines. But spirit is not moved by your clock, it is moved by divine order. Your role is to hold the vision without forcing the hour. When you push, you birth prematurely. When you trust, you receive in fullness. Christian D. Larson wrote, "When we are in harmony with the laws of life, our desires will be realized, but always at the right time." The right time is not merely convenient, it is transformative. It is the moment when your blessing will meet the perfect conditions to expand you, protect you, and multiply through you. There is no fear of missing what is yours when you understand this law. The ship will not sail without you if God has decreed you are to be on it. No one can take your place, for the place is carved in eternity with your name upon it. If something passes you by, it was not yours, or it was not yet time. Let this truth be your peace. God's timing is not only perfect, it is kind. It sees dangers you cannot see, it protects you from snares you cannot sense, and it waits until your hands are strong enough to carry the crown without it crushing you. The divine delay is often divine mercy in disguise. Walt Disney's dream of Disneyland was turned away by countless investors. Had they agreed too early, he would have built before he learned the lessons that made his vision endure. The closed doors were not denials, they were guardians of timing. When the right partners came, the gates opened, and the dream stepped onto the earth with strength enough to outlive its creator. So too will it be for you. Every not yet is not a rejection, but a redirection to the appointed hour. Every pause is God's way of saying, I am still setting the table. And when you are finally called to sit, the feast will be abundant, the wine will be sweet, and the company will be perfect. This is why gratitude in the waiting is so powerful. To thank God before the blessing arrives is to declare, I trust the clock of heaven. Gratitude anchors you in peace while the unseen arrangements are being made. It keeps you from growing bitter and keeps your faith alive. G.I. Gurdjieff once taught that to awaken is to live in the eternal present. To trust that each moment is as it should be. Divine right timing calls you to live this way, knowing that every breath, every step, every encounter is preparing you for the great unveiling of your answered prayer. Beloved, resist the temptation to rush ahead. The impatient traveler exhausts themselves and still must wait for the sun to rise. Walk in step with the Spirit, and you will find that the moment you arrive is the moment the door swings open. And when the appointed time comes, it will come suddenly, as a dawn that floods the earth in an instant, as a baby who arrives in the night, as rain that bursts from a cloud without warning. You will know without doubt that it is the Lord's doing, and it will be marvelous in your eyes. So rest in this. What is yours is on its way. It cannot be late, it cannot be stolen, it cannot be lost. It will come to you at the exact second when it will bless you most and glorify God most fully. Until then, keep the lamp burning, keep the nets mended, and keep your heart expectant. Beloved, all the laws we have walked through, the spoken word, faith, vision, right action, non-resistance, divine timing, are not isolated threads but a single divine tapestry. And when the weaving is complete, the masterpiece appears in your life as manifestation. This is not mere chance, it is the inevitable harvest of the seed sown in spirit. Manifestation is the meeting point between heaven and earth, where the word you spoke in faith descends into form. In the realm of spirit, the thing you desire is already finished. You are not convincing God to create it, you are aligning yourself to receive it. Jesus said, When ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Mark 11:24. The moment the prayer is made in true faith, it is done in the unseen. What you call manifestation is simply the moment when your eyes behold what your heart has already held. This law is not about forcing outcomes, it is about becoming so aligned with the vibration of your desire, in thought, word, and feeling, that the physical must match the spiritual, as within, so without. The invisible pattern always precedes the visible picture. You cannot paint a masterpiece without first conceiving it in the mind's gallery. Prentice Mulford taught, the soul's desire is always a prophecy of what the soul can accomplish. The very fact that you long for something deeply and purely is proof that the seed is already in your possession. The desire is the divine blueprint. The manifestation is its construction in your visible world. But here is the sacred mystery. Manifestation does not begin when the thing appears. It begins the moment you know it is yours, before there is the slightest evidence. Faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Without faith, the seed withers. With faith, the harvest is inevitable. When you speak your word, in the authority of spirit, without doubt, you have cast the mold. The substance of God rushes to fill it. Substance is obedient. It cannot resist the mold you provide. If your mold is one of fear, you will draw forth lack. If your mold is one of faith, you will draw forth abundance. Manifestation is impartial. It reflects exactly what you impress upon it. Annie Ricks Millets once wrote that manifestation is the science of mind in action. And it is indeed a science, exact, repeatable, certain, for it is governed by law, not luck. Just as the law of gravity holds you to the earth, the law of manifestation holds your good to you when you are aligned with it. You cannot plant corn and reap thistles, nor can you plant fear and reap joy. But when your seed is love, faith, and gratitude, the harvest is beyond measure. This is why the word you speak daily is so critical, for it is planting season all year in the kingdom of God. Ella Wheeler Wilcox captured this truth in her verse, "Give to the world the best you have, and the best will come back to you." What you give, in word, thought, and deed, is the raw material of manifestation. The universe is a perfect mirror. It reflects without distortion. If you do not like what you see, do not curse the mirror. Change the image you are projecting. Beloved, there is no manifestation without expectancy. The soul that expects nothing receives nothing. The woman who expects the package checks the door with joy. The man who expects the tide to rise readies his boat. Expectancy is the open door through which manifestation walks in. Without it, your good can knock and you will not hear. And when your manifestation arrives, for it surely will, receive it with joy, without guilt, without shrinking. Many reject their own answered prayers by saying, "This is too much for me," or "I am not worthy." But worthiness is not earned, it is inherent. The fact that God gave you the desire is proof that you are worthy to receive its fulfillment. Napoleon Hill recounted countless stories of those who thought their way into riches. But it was not idle wishing, it was the sustained, unwavering belief that what they desired was already on its way, coupled with persistent action in harmony with that belief. Carl Jung observed that, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Manifestation requires that you become conscious of what you are broadcasting. If your outer life is a harvest you do not like, examine the seeds sown in your inner garden, and when the thing appears, give thanks instantly. Thanksgiving seals the manifestation and multiplies it. The loaves and fishes increased in Jesus' hands, not because he doubted their sufficiency, but because he blessed and thanked God for them before the increase was visible. Beloved, the law of manifestation is not a one-time event, it is a way of living. Each day, you are manifesting, consciously or unconsciously. The wise choose to do it consciously, aligning every word, thought, and feeling with the good they wish to see. This is your divine inheritance, to speak and see it established, to imagine and see it materialize, to sow and to reap. The harvest is not a question of if, but of when, and the when is determined by your readiness to receive. Therefore, speak as if it is already done, act as if it is already yours, feel as if you are already living in it. The vibration of already is the key that unlocks the gates of manifestation, and as you master this, you will find that the gap between desire and manifestation grows shorter, until the very moment you speak the word, it appears. This is the mastery of the law, and it is yours for the taking. Beloved, the vaults of heaven are full. They are not locked to keep you out, but to wait for you to arrive with the key of faith, the mold of vision, and the readiness of heart. Manifestation is not chasing after what you want, it is becoming the person who attracts it without effort. So stand now as a co-creator with God. Speak your word, align your actions, trust the timing, and live in the expectancy of good. And then, watch the invisible step into form, the promise step into sight, the prayer step into reality. It is done unto you as you believe, and your belief has already shaped tomorrow's blessings, waiting just beyond the veil, ready to appear. If this truth has unlocked something deep within you, subscribe now, like this video, and stay in the current of divine manifestation, where your word calls forth the life heaven has already written for you.